what we might call alternative histories, from different points of view and different angles of vision and different goals. As I said, my particular interest has been the origin of the human race, which, as I said, you've got the standard view that you've got humans like us coming into existence about 100,000 years ago. So that's what I've been looking into, evidence that humans have been around for more than 100,000 years, and there's huge amounts of such evidence. Now you've got another group of researchers, Graham Hancock, Roger Bavall, David Allen Ritchie.
Chris Dunn.
Yeah, Chris Dunn, others, who are looking into the origin of civilization, to new theories about that. And, of course, the standard idea is that, you get the very first signs of just communal life, simple village life, only about about 10,000 years ago or so, the very first signs of urban life. And, the standard ideas about Egyptian civilization, they only put it back about 7,000 years or so. So some of these researchers are turning up some very interesting evidence that it goes back much further in time.
Mm-hmm.
They're pushing it back to 10,000, 20,000 years or so. So, of course, that's not my particular field of expertise, but I'm very interested in what they're doing, and some of them point to the existence of some kind of worldwide culture that existed in that period of time.
Any guess, Michael? It would have to be almost intuitive, I guess, at this point in your research, but what might have happened in some cases of collapse and eradication of reasonably high levels of civilization? And if those civilizations were eradicated, does that mean that all humans were relieved of their responsibility and then replanted at some future time? That's a possibility too.
Well, yes, I think something like that has happened. Of course, I approach these questions from, two angles. One angle is from the angle of my personal beliefs, which are basically they're informed by the ancient Sanskrit writings of India, which I've studied for about 30 years, which do talk about these things and offer some explicit information about them. So I could talk about it from that angle. Now,
sure. The Indians, those writings have a lot of relevance today.
Right, and then the other angle is from the scientific point of view, where I only really talk about what I can give evidence for, in terms of that people will be prepared to accept as scientific.
Mm-hmm.
So I can say, if I stick to the scientific aspect of things, I can say less. If I go to what I've personally gotten, from my personal studies, which I may not be able to prove to you in any particular way, other than mention what these writings say, I can say a little bit more.
It's very important what they say.
But what these ancient Sanskrit writings tell us is that there have been cycles of creation and destruction that have gone on, that basically the basic unit of the cyclical time is called the day of Brahma, which lasts for about 4.3 billion years. And according to the Sanskrit calendars, we're now about 2 billion years into the current day of Brahma.
Mm-hmm.
And this day of Brahma is divided into further cycles. They're called Manvantar periods. Each one lasts about 300 million years. And between the Manvantar periods, there are big devastations, which depopulate the entire Earth, not just of human beings, but of all living things. And between these, at these intervals, there has to be a reintroduction of life on this Earth from beings who are a little bit higher up in what I would call the cosmic hierarchy. When life is devastated on this Earth, it survives in other parts of the universe, other levels of the universe, and there has to be a repopulation, not just of human beings, but of all the other life forms.
Right.
At the ends and beginnings of these Manvantar periods, which it's interesting. They sort of correspond to the major extinction events that are revealed in the normal geological record, because scientists, they themselves believe that every couple of 100 million years there have been major extinction events. So it's sort of interesting how these line up in a rough way with these Manvantar periods. Now, if you go a little bit deeper into the writings, you'll find that the Manvantara periods themselves are divided into cycles.
Huh.
They're called yugas, and each of these yuga cycles lasts about 4 million years. And in the course of each of these cycles, there are rises and fallings of human civilizations. They tend to begin in in a state that's close to nature, and in a state in which spiritual values are uppermost, and then they tend to decline towards the end of the Yuga cycle.
Mm-hmm.
We're now at the end of a Yuga cycle, and the pattern of increasing materialism is actually quite evident. I would say, if we look at the recent history of the planet,
it's overwhelming.
So we're in technically what is called the Kali Yuga, which is it lasts according to the calendars about 432,000 years. We're now 5,000 years into it, and the predictions are that at the end, the human population on this earth will be it'll be decimated. It'll be degraded because the environment will also be degraded, and but there are, according to these writings, psychic refuges in the Himalayan mountains and other places where there will be some portion of the population waiting to repopulate the earth when another golden age begins. So it's, as I said, this. I think as you mentioned, there are arrangements for repopulations to occur
would almost
after these cycles. Now, why do these cycles occur? That's a question people might ask. It's because basically we want it. We not to say every single individual, but there are times when the mass of people, they simply become more and more entangled in the strictly materialistic aspect of life, and to let them experience that to the full extent, these cycles are arranged. And apparently at some point, the human spirit just gets a little bit exhausted with it and wants something else. So then that's provided.
It's interesting you would say that, because we have talked many times about the level of anxiety that seems to be creeping in amongst a lot of our brighter people. People seem to sense something's up. It's almost like the herd is sensing something.
Yeah, well, I think they have sensed something. I think there are just limits to how much.
How low can it go?
Oh, we have the internet now. And, I use it, and I have a web page and everything like that. But I think, like everyone else, sometimes I just feel a little bit overwhelmed by it. Overwhelmed by the amount of information, overwhelmed by the demands for communication that are placed upon us, and I think the whole pace of our lives have just become increased. See, well, how much can we experience? How much can we consume? How many things can we do? I think we're kind of reaching the breaking point.
Would seem so. Yeah. I agree. Let's have your website, Michael.
Well, if people want to look at that, it's mcremo.com, M-C-R-E-M-O. It's my first initial and my last name, mcremo.com. Mm-hmm. They can have a look at that, and there's links to other related sites there, so that, if people would like to have a look at that, I'd enjoy hearing from them.
Well, they'll be there, mcremo.com. It is a sense of anxiety that I'm picking up on as much as anything. Now, the introduction of technology, which seems to be almost at a runaway pace, Michael. It's outstripping our ability to accurately and legitimately assimilate it, isn't it? It's really out there.
Oh yes, yeah. You see it. You see it. We've made a commitment. We've made a certain commitment, and we've I think we're living with a commitment that we've made.
We've invested ourselves in it.
Right. So I think the solution is we have to start investing in something else, as well. And
our spiritual self, perhaps.
That's right.
We got to get back to the